Hi, my name's Laura Wishes, and today I'm speaking with Kate Lawrence, who is an ancestral lineage repair practitioner. Before we get going, I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge this land that I live on here, which is Gumbaynggirr country, and to acknowledge all the elders past, present, and emerging. Thank you. So welcome, Kate. Thank you for
Thank you, Laura.
here.
Thank you. It's lovely to be asked.
So just to give a more of an introduction to Kate, as I said, Kate's an ancestral lineage repair practitioner. She's also a spiritual carer in a public hospital in Melbourne. Is there anything else you'd like to say as to introduce yourself, or as we get going, Kate?
Yeah, I think the only thing would be to add my own acknowledgement to yours, Laura, which is that I'm very lucky to live on the lands of the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation, and that I also offer my respect to elders past, present, emerging and future. Yeah.
Thanks, beautiful. So today, I'm especially interested in the ancestral lineage repair. Would you tell us a little bit about what that is? It's quite a mouthful.
Sure. Yeah, it is. And some people use the term ancestral healing as well. And I think that ancestral lineage repair is a little bit more precise in its definition. So the idea is of connecting and reconnecting with well ancestors of your blood and bone through the sort of a meditative process guided by a facilitator, and that those ancestors do work that heals any troubles in the line. And I feel I kind of should back up a bit, because for those of us who aren't Indigenous to the lands that we live on, I think nearly all of us who are in that situation experience this wound of disconnection from our original lands and from our ancestors. And so in this work, it's about connecting with those well ancestors back through time to when our people were connected to the land, were connected to each other, were connected to all the beings, the animals, the plants, the rocks, the waters, and were connected to the ancestors before them. So in a way, it's harking back to the times when we were Indigenous to the lands that we lived on. And I think by asking our elders of our blood and bone to heal those troubles brought through disconnection, through colonialism, through misogyny, through economic inequity, they can heal the lines in between us and them. And I suppose, like, then the question is, what does that give us? Why would we do that, you know? And I think there's personal and there's sort of cultural, systemic benefits to the work, in the sense of there's personal healing, and it's to heal that wound of disconnection and to address that hunger for belonging that I think so many of us have, to weave ourselves back into connection and to feel that we aren't alone. And that's tremendously healing. And I think when we have the backup of our ancestors, then we can be with other people who are in connection with their ancestors, and then there's a chance for more of a sort of a healthy exchange between peoples.
Thanks,
so that felt like a big mouthful that I just requested.
This really struck me as you're speaking, is the times that we're in right now. And so, you know, just in case people are seeing this later, we're right in the middle of a huge, you know, really uprising throughout the world, isn't it, around Black Lives Matter, and in Australia, Black deaths in custody, and so much of, I'm not sure what would you call it, it's almost like deconstruction is what it feels like in the US, and you know, so many people standing up all around the world in solidarity. Feels like such a big time, really.
Absolutely.
So much of what you're speaking to, I can see how it's connecting in there.
Yeah.
At a really personal level, what brought you to it? Like, what was your, if you're okay talking about
Sure.
that?
Yeah, absolutely. I was doing a training in a particular type of somatic movement and meditation, and one of the things that we had to engage with was ancestors, and I really did not want to do it at all, which is quite ironic now looking back. But and the reason I didn't is that on my father's side, 22 members of his family died in concentration camps in the Second World War. And I had such an aversion to experiencing or even connecting with anything to do with that. So I was kind of dragged kicking and screaming into this engagement with the ancestors. And at first it was like, oh, this is okay. You know, I had the sense that they were very much shielding me from what they had experienced, which I really appreciated, but it meant because they were shielding me, I also couldn't really connect with them. And then as the 10 days went on, there was another exercise, and I thought, well, I'll just go back further, much further than these relatively recent ones. And I was lucky that the teachers at the time said, you know, our ancestors have experienced all sorts of things. So paraphrasing was more or less, connect with the ones who are well in spirit, you know, connect with the ones who are healthy and who wish you well. So I kind of jumped over these recent ones and went very, very, very far back in time to be met by thousands of people who were so happy to see me. And it was just this revelation, you know, this huge upswelling of love and acceptance. And I was kind of stunned that, especially because I'd been so reluctant, you know. I think that made the difference quite big. And from there, I had a lot of exploration, mainly through movement with my ancestors. And as I sort of worked more in that practice, I began to invite the ancestors in to this offering I was making in hospice of playing what's called a reverie harp. It's a very small handheld harp in hospice, and I started inviting people's ancestors into the space and had some very beautiful and very deep and very sweet encounters doing that. And then right at the end of all of that, I discovered something called Ancestral Medicine, which gives a very structured method for connecting with the ancestors and repairing anything that needs to be repaired in our ancestral lineages. So I was doing, in terms of engagement with the ancestors, I was working with them for about 6 years before I found Ancestral Medicine. And that was a few years ago now. So it's been quite a long journey, and I feel really grateful for their presence in my life and how much they support me and what they give me.
Sounds very beautiful what you're describing in the hospital, like the whole journey of that and your movement-based connection as well. So when you say what they give you, what difference has it made in your life, in everyday life?
To connect with the ancestors. It's been huge, really. For me, a really fundamental thing has been this sense of belonging, which was something that I was, for most of my life, wrestling with. This sense of, where do I belong? Who do I belong to? Am I really accepted? Am I really loved? And that doubt. And so, yeah, that sense of support and that sense of backing and that sense of really deep acceptance and love, for me, makes me feel like I'm never alone. And that's something, and that resources me as well for the spiritual care work I do, in the sense of, I want other people to feel that they're not alone as well, like to know that they're loved and accepted as they are. So yeah, but for me personally, it's made a massive difference, to feel more sort of more connected to life and to the world, I think.
Yeah, beautiful. Just what a gift to be able to bring people, you know, in your everyday life and in the hospital there.
And it feels, when I'm doing these sessions in ancestral lineage repair, like it really can feel so sacred and like such an honor as well, you know, to hold the space for people to connect with their own people. Is like, there are times when I feel really, really moved by it. So it is, yeah, that's a gift as well to me.
Yeah, just for a little bit of background, Kate and I met in an ancestral medicine intensive, didn't we? I was a participant and Kate was a supporter. And I was describing to a friend just not so long ago about this long weekend that we did and about the supporters. And it just came out. I said, you know, about all the supporters there were three, I think, three and Daniel, Daniel 4. And that I said, you know, just the way they were was, you know, just so beautiful. I said they were like trees. I know I mentioned this to you a little while ago.
Yeah.
But that's that sense I had, it like even from the very beginning of encountering this work, of that sense of connection and ease, you know, of just simply being, and no need to, you know, for, you know, so many seem to be braced against the world, or you know, this sort of sense of holding yourself up in the world. You know, it was kind of like, my sense was that it all just flown, and sort of, so that connection with the earth and with just being in life with there. So that was just, you know, what I got from, and I didn't have much to do with you on the weekend, but it really made an impact on me. So
yeah. I thought it's so beautiful, and I remember you on that weekend, absolutely. And but that's such a beautiful thing it's a beautiful compliment to say that we're like trees. I think that's really lovely. And that's interesting you say that thing about not needing to hold yourself up, because I think that happens when you can relax back and know that you're held.
Yeah.
But there are probably hundreds of thousands. I mean, the mathematics is kind of incredible if you go back and see how many people you're related to very quickly. Like, it just multiplies up. So there's thousands and thousands and thousands of people who have your back.
It's quite amazing. I really related to what you were saying about when you connected with the older ones, you know, and when that first happened for me, it was, again, like you, it was amazing for me, you know, the sense of, I actually cried and cried, like, you know, that kind of crying that comes up from the earth, you know. And I realized I've been longing for this my whole life, this connection with elders, and that I didn't even know I was longing for it, and this sense that I've been holding the world together somehow, you know, and then just such a really deep letting go and relief, just enormous relief, you know. Yeah. I'm just wondering if we could come back to talk a little bit more about what you mentioned at the beginning, which was around the connection to pretty much the troubles in this world, you know, that there are a lot of troubles in our world, you know, and so issues of social justice, of racism, of so much, you know, disconnection with the land and economic injustice at just about every level. Could you say a little bit more about that aspect of the work for you, and what, you know, how you see it or work with it, or what it's been in your life? Just whether there's something more you could speak to there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think when we're resourced by our own ancestors, for those of us with white passing privilege, when we're resourced by our own ancestors, kind of feels like we don't have to be as defensive, you know, that we're not personally under attack when the systems that give us privilege are questioned and challenged. And there is a cultural healing aspect to the work of really deep inquiry into like what are the burdens that have been passed down to us, as well as the gifts and blessings, and then what is the potential transformation of those burdens. So what's the antidote to the racism that has been inculcated in us, or the misogyny, or the poverty, or although poverty is, it's really economic inequity, the systems that mean that some people are food insecure or can't get the education or jobs that are available to others. Yeah, to me it feels like the first step is sort of healing the lines to sort of reconnect with our people, and then we can kind of step into more that work of engaging with cultural systems that need to change. And I think we can kind of like ask the ancestors for support with that as well. Well, we can ask them for support with anything. So of course we can call on the ones who are healed and who are particularly interested in supporting that to guide us along the way.
Yeah, thanks, Kate. I really resonate too with what you're saying about our ability to just be present with what is there, you know, and it's so huge. You know, when I've been in situations with Indigenous people, with non-Indigenous people coming together with Indigenous people, that just seems like such a huge key of being able to hear someone, to actually just be with what is, to be in the midst of having faced, you know, my own shadow, if you like, or my own struggles, or my own pain, or my own fear and guilt, or whatever it is, and then to be able to actually hear someone else and to also stay present and stay grounded, is quite a big thing, you know, when we've all got a lot of, you know, levels of trauma and, you know, past histories of distress and all sorts of things that each of us, in some level or another, deals with. So yeah, that's very, very, very strong one.
And it's also building on that, it's the ability to come back. If you can feel that you've kind of gone off into something, the ability to come back and settle in the moment while you're with another person. And for me personally, that's where I call on my ancestors. If I can feel like I've gone way up into my head, or I'm spinning around in something, it's like, no, just calling on you and asking you to have my back and help me keep my feet on the ground, and then I can listen, because I can't listen if I'm all, caught up in something else.
Yeah,
so
exactly. So can I ask you, what is it that you love most about it, or what is it that most inspires you around working this way with your own work or working with others?
What is it that I most love, or what inspires me? I think it's the depth, the profundity of the connection that I've felt and that I've witnessed in other people. Just that heart opening, how can I even put words on it? That sense of coming home, like within myself, with my people, and that deep acceptance that's quite radical in some ways in our society, depending on how we were raised. And I think what I find inspiring on another level is that kind of, I think it frees people up from the things that can cloud us or get in between us and the other person. So I don't know, you have this idea, like if everybody had their ancestral lines healed, what would the world look like? It wouldn't be perfect, absolutely. And it would hopefully mean we would be able to more listen to each other more clearly, because we wouldn't be so caught up with these, because we inherit all sorts of things from the ones before us. So we inherit these gifts of resilience and strength. And then there were ancestors who aren't so well, who were born after the disconnection from land, and who either experienced or perpetrated suffering. Well, everybody's done some of both, but so then they've passed down to us messages of how their life was. And so that can often get in the way, I think, of truly seeing other people. And so I find that quite inspiring, to sort of clear the way and support us being kinder to each other. I think that's so important, like to bring in more kindness and compassion to the world.
That's so beautiful, Kate. Thank you. Thank you for sharing your wisdom and that state of being that, it's such a pleasure to be here with you here today. Is there anything you'd like to, anything more you'd like to say before we...
Is there anything else? I'm just thinking. I think it's something like that this connection is available to everybody. And although it helps, you don't need to go to a session, or you don't need to go to a workshop or read a book. You can, and they really help. And the ancestors are waiting there. The ancestors are really waiting and hoping that you will connect with them. so that it's to answer that call and and respond, and that there is a huge gift of love and acceptance there for all of us.
That's beautiful. I'm just to explain, I'm smiling as well because I've had a little mozzie or something has just decided to join in the conversation.
I saw him. Wait 1 second, please.
Perfect invitation from Kate there. So that's gorgeous, Kate. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura.
I'm just wondering whether you'd like to offer a prayer as we sign out. I know. Yep.
Good. Yeah, I'd love that actually. Yeah. So we talk about prayer or prayerful invocation in this work, and yeah, I would love to do that. So
I know I just sprang that on you.
No, I'm always really happy to pray to the ancestors. I think it makes a huge difference to just about anything. So yeah, no, really happy to do that. So, dear beloved ancestors, ancestors of everybody who listens to this conversation today, wise, loving ancestors, we're asking you to draw close to your descendants. Help them to feel your love and presence. Help them to feel your gifts and blessings. We thank you for everything you bring to our lives, for your support and guidance and wisdom, as well as your love. We ask you as much as possible to bring your benign hands around these ones, around your descendants, to be open for connection with them, to help them feel you in their hearts so that they can know that they're not alone. We're offering our respects to the traditional peoples of the lands that we live on, and asking if it pleases you to support this work. We would be deeply honored and grateful. Ancestors, we thank you for your love and presence. We thank you for your gifts and your blessings. And we ask you to draw close so that we can feel you even more deeply. And please continue to bless everybody who listens to this conversation today. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Kate.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you for the chance to speak about this. It was lovely.
Just one more before we go. One more thing, and that is, how can people contact you? How do you work with people? You know, if somebody wants to know more, you know, what can they do?
Yes. So I offer individual sessions in Ancestral Lineage Repair. The best thing is probably to email me. My email is listeningtotheancestors@gmail.com. And I'd be very happy to talk to you. I have lots of sliding scale options as well if people need that in terms of payment. I think it's really important that this work be financially accessible as well. Yeah, I think it's just listen to that call. If it feels right, get in touch. And we can take it from there.
Thanks, Kate. I'll also have that information below somewhere on whichever, the YouTube
Great.
site or Facebook or whatever it is, for you to contact Kate in case you missed that.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you.
So thank you, Kate. It's such a pleasure.
Thank you so much, Lou.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.